What a great shame it would be that if we had the most incredible conversation, me interviewing you for 3 hours, and then we got the title wrong, or the thumbnail wrong. And because of that, 1,900% less people saw it. That was the variance in the last podcast we released between the best performing test and the worst performing test.
The fact that a title and thumbnail can change the outcome of a podcast by that much is exactly why most YouTube podcasts fail before they even make it past their 3rd episode. Because beginners think that podcasting means recording with a guest. It means having a good conversation, posting it, and then hoping that the right people find it. But the podcasts that actually grow on YouTube, they're running a completely different system. So in this video, I'm going to show you the step-by-step blueprint for how to start and grow a podcast on YouTube the right way. Whether you're starting from zero or you already have a podcast, I'm going to be breaking down the strategy that I'd use today and how it crosses paths with the exact strategy that was recently revealed behind one of the world's largest YouTube podcasts, The Diary of a CEO. And I'm also going to show you the one tool called Riverside that lets you run Diary of a CEO's entire system without their massive team. Now, the first mistake is starting with the guests. Most people's first question is always, who can I interview, right? Who would make me look like a real podcast? But the question that actually decides whether an episode works is, what is the episode's promise? Before you record anything, you need to know why a stranger would click. Because if you don't know that before the episode ever starts, then you'll be trying to manufacture it afterward. And that's where everything gets messy. I'm sure you've been there. If you have a podcast, you have a genuinely great conversation you had just had, and then you sit down and you try to package it, and you've got nothing. You're struggling to come up with the title and the thumbnail. You have no good angle, and you realize that you have a nice guest with an amazing conversation, but zero tension and zero leverage. But I have spent like the last 30 days literally dissecting what the best podcasts in the world on YouTube are doing. The best YouTube podcasts, they run this in reverse. They come up with the banger angle first, then the title, and then the thumbnail concept, then the questions. And only then do they seek out a guest who fits that mold. The strategy shapes the conversation on purpose.
So here we have a full-time failure and experimentation team. So our principle is to kill the guessing everywhere that we can.
Basically, their strategy shapes the whole conversation that's going to be had on the podcast, and it's all very purposeful. See, that's the first lesson. Don't guess your way through an episode. So if I were starting a podcast today, which I have, I would not record until I had at least 3 possible titles written down for every episode, because titles force clarity. And when you study the best performing podcasts on YouTube, the titles follow 3 core patterns. So after days of research, I found that pattern 1 is niche expert plus outlier claim. For example, insulin doctor, the fastest way to burn dangerous visceral fat. Or leading neuroscientist, stress leaks through the skin, right? The expertise supplies the authority, and then the claim supplies the curiosity. The second pattern I found is a known name plus an outlier claim. So it's essentially the exact same structure, but the guest's name is the authority. So for example, Robert Greene, How to Seduce Anyone. This is authority hacking, which is basically borrowing someone else's audience to grow your own. In fact, my top 2 most viral videos was exactly this strategy. And the third pattern is the traditional just outlier title, like the secret to growing a podcast in 2026. This is the weakest of the 3 because it has no built-in authority, but it can still work if the promise is specific enough. So work down the ladder. Can you get a no name with a really strong angle? If not, what about a niche expert with a curiosity-driven promise? If not that, then make the episode idea itself so specific that the title stands out on its own. Now, the reason this matters is because once the title exists, the entire episode gets way easier. If the title is How This Creator Got 100,000 Subscribers Without Posting Every Week, then the questions write themselves, right? What actually moved the needle for that creator? What did everybody else get wrong that this creator didn't? What would you do if you had to start over again? These are the questions you'd want to ask that creator, right? And then you go into that recording knowing what you're hunting for, the questions that you're looking for, and every answer now becomes a clippable moment. On YouTube, moments are the currency. See, the full episode, it's the thing that builds the trust, but the moments, they become clips and shorts that pull new people in, new audiences in. Therefore, the next step is recording in a way that makes those moments super easy to capture. And this is where people overcomplicate the wrong thing. In-person podcasts are sick. The room, the cameras, the energy, I love them. But if you're starting a YouTube podcast in 2026, your biggest enemy is friction. If every episode means setting up lights, setting up audio, SD cards, file transfers, syncing all kinds of things together, and then tearing it all down again, well, you will not make it past episode 3. See, the workflow is just too heavy, and heavy workflows kill consistency. So for me, I want real video podcast quality with the lightest possible workflow. And that's exactly why I use a tool called Riverside. It's super easy because I can send my guests just one link. They join from their browser, no downloads, no studio, no technical setup on there. And the important part is that Riverside records each speaker locally, which basically means that they have separate audio and video tracks for each speaker, and it goes up to 4K. Now, this is super cool because if someone's Wi-Fi basically like cuts out mid-episode, the final recording on Riverside's end, it isn't compressed or a glitchy call. You still have the full recording in 4K as if that glitch or like that drop in Wi-Fi never happened. Basically, you still get clean studio quality audio and video from episode 1. And that matters a ton because a YouTube podcast is still a YouTube video. If the guest looks bad or the audio feels cheap, viewers feel it instantly and they'll leave. And honestly, Riverside, the recording quality on Riverside is so good. I've literally replaced most of my one-to-one Zoom calls with Riverside, even for like just day-to-day calls at this. Now, here's what this unlocks for the strategy that we just uncovered. You're no longer limited to guests who can drive to you. You can reach the exact expert or founder who fits the perfect angle that you designed for an episode, wherever they live in the world. And guess what? Better guests create better angles, and better angles give the episode a real shot at performing. But recording is only one step. The mistake that keeps 99% of podcasts small is thinking the episode's finished when the recording stops. The first thing you need after recording is the strongest moment. Never open your episode with small talk and slow 5-minute warm-up. That's the death of your podcast. The second I finish recording, I'm hunting for the moment that makes a viewer go, whoa, wait, what? Or the moment where it's like the reveal of the strategy or the mistake or the most useful answer in the whole conversation. It's these key moments I'm hunting for. In fact, let me show you what I mean. Here's the intro from one of my own episodes.
Reaches around, puts a 9mm straight to my forehead and walks between you two.
Oh my gosh.
And said, give me all the money. And I was like hoping like you weren't gonna cry because you know, you're a baby.
Yeah.
So I was just like,
Your thoughts on what jobs will survive and what jobs won't.
And a lot of kids who are going to college right now are probably going to learn something that could be obsolete by the time they're even
If you think about the people who really the purveyors or like frontiers of AI, they are not people who necessarily sit back and care about being known as like a good person. They're like borderline psychopathic. I'm curious, has there ever been a moment growing up where we've been broke and you didn't tell me?
See, every sentence in that intro came from Riverside's transcript, by the way, because Riverside's transcription tool makes this amazing. So instead of scrubbing through an hour-long timeline of footage, trying to remember, oh, where the guest said that one really cool story or whatever it was, I just use Riverside's transcript searching feature and it jumps straight to that moment. And then I build the intro around that strongest part of the conversation. And with Riverside's text-based editing, the transcript is the edit. If a section just drags on too long, I could just highlight the text and delete the video and it cuts it perfectly. So I don't need to spend time learning or mastering these editing tools or softwares because it's just so easy. It's like editing a Google Doc. Also, I can find filler words and just messy sections and I could just clean it up all with Riverside's AI right inside of the tool. And this right here is the difference between the top podcasts and the sea of sameness within the world of podcasts, right? You're not just cutting silences. You're moving the strongest moments earlier as almost like the hook and making sure the viewer gets what they clicked for instantly. See, the best podcast strategy is the one that you can actually repeat every single week, which brings us to the step where most people aren't even playing the game. See, most people say they distributed their episode that they just recorded, but what they actually did was they just uploaded. So first, the publishing itself. You can upload to YouTube directly from Riverside, which by the way saves so much time because manually uploading yourself, that is something that you hire a social media manager to do. That is not something that you should be spending your valuable time. But in this case, we don't even need to hire somebody. We could just use Riverside. I upload a lot of my videos through this because their AI turns your transcript into show notes, into chapter titles, and a description in a couple of clicks. So that whole part of uploading a video, it can take up to like 30 minutes sometimes. It literally takes a couple of clicks with Riverside. And by the way, talking about uploading, I want to have a really quick thumbnail tip while we're here. If you're going to put words on your thumbnail, make sure it's 3 words max. Make sure it's readable at phone size, and it has to pay off the title. Remember, this is the exact lever that swung Diary of a CEO's views by literally 1900%. Okay, but back to the actual distribution. So Stephen Bartlett's team asked...
How I take a 3-hour conversation And how do I present it in 40 different formats?
See, that's the mindset shift. One conversation should become 20 to 30 assets of content. I call this a content waterfall. See, the podcast is the biggest piece at the top, but from that, it should cascade down into a newsletter, into 5 to 10 minute clips on a clip channel, and short form clips for TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Shorts, you name it. Those shorts are how new audiences find the show before the show has an actual audience. In fact, Stephen Bartlett has actual data scientists and a full editing team to do this for him. See, most of us are solo, we're solopreneurs, so this is where Riverside's magic clips really earn its place in this entire video. It auto-generates 10 plus shorts from your episode. It captions them, and it's ready for every single feed before your podcast even has a single subscriber. One recording, and then you have a full weeks of content without a giant team. You could stay lean and without having to spend hours of your own time manually clipping the episode. And when everything's ready, Riverside connects directly to Spotify, so you can host your podcast there, Apple Podcasts, and even YouTube. You literally publish once and it publishes everywhere automatically. It's kind of insane. So that's the system. Design the promise before you ever hit record. Capture it in the highest quality with the least friction. So with something like Riverside, use the really amazing tools inside Riverside to edit for the moment, and then turn that one piece of content and waterfall that into everything else. Now, if you guys want to build this whole entire workflow and you guys want to check out Riverside, which I highly recommend you do, especially if you're starting an online podcast using YouTube, then you can click the first link in the description below and make sure that you use code CREATORLLAUNCH with 2 L's at checkout for 1 month of Riverside Pro or Grow. I have to be honest with you guys before you go, because this is where I see people get burned. You can run everything in this video perfectly. The angles, the titles, the clips, the whole content waterfall, and your podcast can still flatline. Because a podcast doesn't grow in a vacuum. It grows on top of a channel, and if the channel underneath it is making the mistakes most creators are still making now in 2026 on YouTube, then you're building on a foundation of sand. So what I did is I took everything that's actually working on YouTube right now and I turned it into a full 1 hour long course completely for free, and you could watch right here. Just click right here to watch it next. It's called What's Actually Working to Grow on YouTube in 2026. It covers the mistakes that I just mentioned, plus the ones that are harder to kind of spot on your own. So if you're serious about growing on YouTube this year, whether you're a podcaster or not, then click and watch this video next.